Rosia Bay. It's a historic and much-loved site, but it's seen better days. Over the years, there have been many ideas put forward for the area. Proposals have included public leisure facilities, a sea bathing pavilion, residential units, and even a water park. For the AHQ site, there have been suggestions of a hotel, elderly care facilities, and a residential development. But none of these projects have gone ahead. After the latest expression of interest invitation, GBC put questions to the government. In response, a spokesperson said, successive governments have been trying to deliver a development scheme for Rosia Bay since the site was handed over by the Ministry of Defence in 1990. For over 30 years, the government and different prospective applicants have been unable to reach an agreement. Some of the complex and detailed negotiations have themselves taken many years, given the number of surveys and reports which have been required. Since 1999, there have been 6 formal invitations for proposals to develop Rosia Bay and surrounding areas, with a dolphinarium even considered by the then GSD government back in 2010. A No. 6 spokesperson told GBC that in 2012, 15 submissions were received. In 2022, a further 5, with 3 of them reaching presentation stage. There were 11 submissions made in 2024. Again, 3 made the shortlist. So, what is different in 2026? Well, the government said it's testing the market again to assess current interest, but that at present it's ruling out residential development of the bay itself.
We've seen the promises from the Gibraltar governments, not only in the 2023 manifesto, but also in the 2019 manifesto. Of course, that went askew because of the pandemic. But this time around in 23, we thought that there was going to be a publicly funded development of this area, not only with the old Allied headquarters across the way, but also, again, Rosia Bay, which is the one that really holds back the progress of any restoration of the area, because that is where the expense is.
We could sort of control the damage these kind of storms do to the mole, and just hold it and slowly recover more money and start improving it.
Given that there have been multiple tenders that have gone out over more than 2 decades without delivery, do you believe that the model itself is flawed for a site of this sensitivity?
I agree entirely that the model is flawed. There seems to be a persistence within the government thinking that this has to be done through primarily private funding, and that's why in the past most of the developers have pushed for things where they could get some profit out of it, including residential and some other projects which were really non-starters.
Both of you gentlemen have lived in Gibraltar all your lives. Talk to me a bit about what Rosia Bay means to you and your memories of it growing up.
Growing up, I used to live in the South District from sort of my early teenage, and one of the things that used to frustrate me at the time was that it was an officers' swimming club, and that you were totally restricted from it. And, when the MOD eventually handed over, it just got used by the local population to enjoy what was left. And as it's deteriorated, it continues to be used. As we've seen the place show its beauty, and I mean, the walls are fantastic. These walls date from about 1853, something like that. There are some older walls behind it. And in fact, on the ramp, you can still see some of the original 18th century walls.
It was used as a safe harbour for the HMS Victory after the Battle of Trafalgar. That sort of heritage you can't find anywhere. From my perspective, it's like the first connection we have with the Royal Navy, the UK government, and anything British, and it's got to be respected and sort of improved and brought back to some of its former glory.
The area is one many people feel passionate about.
It would look fantastic if they could do something up there and mention Nelson and maybe even have a ship built like the Victory.
It needs something, doesn't it? For sure, yeah. So it seems like a waste ground. So it's a nice area there, isn't it?
Hopefully it won't be with high-story buildings and that sort of thing. I mean, something which goes in line with what it really is.
With the wind and stuff, like all the rocks are flying everywhere. I think they just like build it all new so like we can come fishing with my dad and stuff like that. They can just like fix it and make like a big pier. And I think they should build a bit like of steps, new steps, so people can come swimming and stuff in the summer.
Any development of the bay will require approval from the DPC, the consent of the government, and, if applicable, a heritage licence. The deadline for this latest expressions of interest invitation is the 27th of February. At that point, the government says it will evaluate submissions, with any conflicts of interest expected to be declared.